This week on Movie Time Machine, a man accidentally gets into a time machine and travels back in time nearly an hour. Finding himself will be the first of a series of disasters of unforeseeable consequences. This is Time Crimes. Welcome to Movie Time Machine, your retro movie review podcast where we take movies from the past and relive them in the present. This week's movie is Timecrimes, written and directed by Nacho Vigalondo and released in the year 2008. I'm your Time Machine host, Chad, and I want to introduce you to my Time Machine co-host joining me today. First, he is our living encyclopedia of movie knowledge and NES cart collector. It's James.
Hi, I'm happy that I am the encyclopedia, yet I just asked the first question.
Welcome.
He lives in entertainment past more than a present. That's Casey. What's up?
Hello.
And it's Mr. Scaredy Pants himself, our Movie Time Machine horror expert. It's Jamie.
I'm just like collecting crucifixes for the next Conjuring movie to drop.
Oh my god.
It just did on HBO Max, didn't it?
Next weekend.
Next
weekend?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. As always, before we get into our topic of the week, our movie of the week, I want to share with you guys what I've been watching since last time we got together. We jump back into The Handmaid's Tale, right?
Oh.
Yep. And so season 4, I don't know. I thought there was word that this might be the final season. I'm not sure. I hope it is because it's getting a little too dark, I think, even for me. So see how it goes. We're like 4 episodes deep. Hopefully dive into some more of that tonight after the pod. But yeah, that's what I've been diving into lately. Outside of that, what have you guys been up to? What have you been up to, James?
A couple different things. I've been watching Mayor of Easttown, that Kate Winslet show on
Murder Durder.
Yeah.
I was waiting for someone to do it.
Did anybody watch The Killing? It reminds me a lot of that show so far. So
I did. That's a very good one.
Yeah, there's one episode left, and this is one of those HBO series, again, where it's just like a mini series. I think it's done after the 7th episode and just call it quits. So that's always awesome. I love those because they just, I think, leave it all on the table, which is awesome. So got that going on, and then we finished Jupiter. Well, I always want to say Jupiter Ascending, but that's not right. Jupiter's Legacy, that weird superhero one with the guy that plays Ted Hamilton on Netflix. Oh god, Josh Duhamel? No? Alright, well anyway, superheroes.
Nope.
Josh Duhamel, he's a Vikings fan.
Yeah, and he's in all those South Dakota ads, right?
He's the North Dakota guy, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know.
North Dakota, South Dakota, I don't know. Just needs to be Dakota,
One
right?
of them.
The Dakotas. Thought you're gonna straight Jerry Lewis that North Dakota, South Dakota, Illinois, and okay, nobody knows that one. All right, never mind. And then last but not least, I've been watching. I just started the mini series to lead into season 1 of Battlestar Galactica, which I've never seen.
Ooh.
Which is actually, sorry, I was waiting for the build up, and then I realized, oh, so none of you guys have watched it either. Okay, I thought that was a really
Bears beats
Battlestar
Galactica.
That's all I know of the show. So I don't know. I started it. I heard good things about it as a sci-fi show, and so far I'm enjoying it. But I'm only on like the first part of the miniseries, and like I said, there's like a part 1 and part 2, and then it gets into the seasons of the show, which is 4 seasons.
What is that on right now? What are you watching that on?
So the miniseries part, I had to like internet it to be like, hey, how do you watch Battlestar Galactica? Kind of like what's the right order for Star Wars these days or Marvel? The miniseries is on Tubi. Which is also where I watched The Postman the other day. So Tubi, I'm very new towards. It's just another app where there's movies with commercials, and the commercials aren't that long or bad. So, and then the rest of it, I think, is on Hulu, if I'm not mistaken.
All right.
It's been next up, Jamie.
Wanting to get to. There's a good Portlandia skit where they binge Battlestar Galactica.
I like Galactia better.
Galactia Battlescar Galactia.
That's the sequel, right? The sequel,
Yeah.
Galactia,
That's like the generic toy.
the Walmart brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Galactica.
I
Galactia.
I was telling a buddy at work, I'm like, that I did this. I'm like, oh, I just started this. I'm excited to get into it. And he's like, oh yeah. He's like, isn't there like a bunch of seasons? Like, isn't there like Battlestar, Atlantis? And I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure that's Stargate, but also probably the exact same lines of absurd, too many seasons of.
Well, that's Star Trek too. Isn't there like 3 different flavors of Star Trek, like different casts and people who play different characters?
Yeah, and I think
Star Trek was only like 3 seasons, right?
Well, no,
Really?
Scott Bakula jumped into like a new one, like, and it was like pre-Enterprise.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Like the
Yeah.
different iterations of Star
And there's,
Trek.
like,
There's like a billion of them.
What's this
Original,
thing?
Next
Oh,
Gen,
this is,
Deep Space Nine.
Deep Space Nine. Yeah,
there's
exactly.
like it's like one is about like the tugboat version
Yeah.
of a Star Trek.
Is that what it is? I know nothing about Star Trek. Literally nothing. But there's
Well-
like what's his face and what's his face? William
I was gonna say-
Shatner and
Well, I was gonna say
Picard.
Gene Kane and Scott Bakula between Stargate and the Enterprise show.
Yeah, that's true too. That's true.
Scott Bakula, better known for his role in
Quantum Leap.
That's Right. You know,
Yeah, I
there's
never
a
watched any of those shows.
I just had a quantum leap, like like sometimes like how your memory
Speaking of
Is-
time travel,
isn't isn't as good as you think it is, right? So I swear to God, when I moved from Texas to Minnesota, I swear I started watching Quantum Leap, and like I remember like finishing it when we moved, or like that first season finished or whatever when we moved back to Minnesota. But then I read it's like, oh, it didn't come out till I even like after we moved from Texas, so it wasn't even on when I lived in Texas. But like that doesn't make any sense. I don't know where I would have watched it at that time. But anyway, that's
wow, that's a cool story, Hansel. I've never been to Mount Vesuvius.
Do you remember the show?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
at least you remember the show. It was good enough to remember.
Yeah.
I was gonna start dogging it because, like, oh, you don't even remember watching it.
Anyway,
But if
Casey, what have you
remember
been
the
up
story,
to?
That counts. Oh man. So a lot of things completely not like movie related. I needed a new weed whipper for my yard, so I spent a lot of time watching YouTube videos researching the best electric battery powered weed whipper, because once you buy something like that, I want to invest in that brand so that I can share the batteries among all the future
Ego,
tools
baby.
that I need to buy. That's exactly what I went with, was Ego, after watching all the reviews.
Like the
that
detachable,
was-
where you can like get like the edger and get like the tiller.
No, not even that. Like,
Oh.
I would need my next thing will probably have to be a new lawnmower or a snowblower. And I know that you can just use the same batteries in all the things. So it's
Yeah.
like, I'll just buy into that same family. And they, all
I got the
reviews
mower
kinda
last
pointed that
year.
way.
I got the mower
nice.
last year. Yeah, it's fucking.
I just got the
rules.
weed whipper. I'm gonna get the mower next, probably either that or a
Sweet.
snowblower. That and I found this dude on YouTube, Mark Rebele, I think is how you say his name. He's like a loop artist, kind of like shoot, what's that dude's name? Reggie Watts. If you know Reggie
Oh
Watts,
yeah,
he's kind of like a
yeah.
loop artist.
I love Reggie Watts from Montana.
Mark Rebele is this dude who like started streaming on Twitch, I think, during the pandemic every single day, and he would just make up these songs, and it's just super entertaining. So I've been like diving into the rabbit hole of all of his past streams and just listening to this random music, because it's always just really entertaining.
Cool, awesome. Oh, Casey, if you ever need a leaf blower, the Ego leaf blower is
Oh, dude.
a good investment too.
Oh,
Like,
that's the family I'm buying into. Like,
Yeah.
from what everything I was researching, that's the thing. I'd never heard of that brand. All the other brands I knew of, like DeWalt and all these other tool brands or mower brands, but Ego or EGO or whatever it's called, I'd never heard of it. So I was like, really, this is the best one? But from everything I looked up, like that, they're pretty awesome.
Yes,
so I
sir.
bought in. Got the weed whipper.
Yeah. Weed whipper. Cool. Jamie, what have you been up to?
Well, I'm going to back clean up here with relevant content for both Casey and James. So for the weed whip situation, similarly,
Whip it.
whip it good. I went with the Echo model. Love it. Can't say enough good things about it. Also battery. But I did not plan ahead like you did, Casey. And Jamie's garage is just a disaster. I've got the Echo battery-powered weed whip, but I got a Black & Decker battery-powered leaf blower, and this all started because I bought a gas Toro mower with an electric start, so I kind of just screwed myself from the go.
So I'm cool with mixing and matching plug-in stuff because it's plug-in. It's whatever. Get whatever brand you want, whatever's cheap, whatever you like. But the battery stuff is where I was like, I don't want to buy 13 different batteries from all these different brands.
Because they're expensive.
Yeah. Ooh, boy.
I know I
That's
goofed. I goofed.
It's all good. You can fix it. You can correct it. You can Craigslist that stuff and
that's right.
get rid of what you have and get new stuff.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's never over.
Is it not PC anymore to say weed whacker? Is weed whipper the PC term?
Oh, I was just saying thank you for bringing that up, because if you guys didn't all just start the conversation with weed whipper, I was okay with just starting to say it, but yeah, weed whacker is exactly what it's called. So I was with you on that one.
I think it's regional because I grew up in Colorado. It was a weed whacker, at least in the McManus house. It was.
I've never heard weed whipper ever before in my life until tonight.
Minnesota. That was the first time I heard it too.
But I've lived in Minnesota
Minnesota
for 20, 30 plus
say
years.
Weird shit, man. What can I say?
I've lived in Minnesota for all my
Minnesota.
life.
So not regional. Maybe there's a region of whackers and a region of whippers.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about.
Don't know.
Or weed trimmer.
No. Okay,
Yeah.
hey,
Trimmer,
Casey, Google it.
String trimmer. It's string trimmer is what they're called.
String
That's
trimmer.
the technical name.
Just go on
is they're a string
Menards.com
trimmer.
and see what comes up if you do weed whacker. There's got to be an actual name, kind of like you look up Kleenex and you got facial tissue.
I need a grass shaver.
Yes, exactly. It's
Yard
gonna be a grass
maintainer.
trimmer. I know it.
So if I search weed whacker or weed whipper, it's the same exact results.
I need to get my yard. I need to go a low and tight.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Jamie, I'm
Can I get some white sidewalls?
Jamie, I have a 50-50 shot. I think it's, I don't know. It was a clearance one at Target for the leaf blower. It was like Green Works, whatever, and it works for just fine.
They were high on the list when I was reviewing Green Works.
And then, my weed whacker is Black & Decker, and it's because it was free from my wife's parents. And then my lawnmower is, wait, drum roll, rotary. I don't do gas or electric. I push.
Atta boy.
You must have a small yard.
I do a smaller yard.
Yeah.
It probably still takes me, probably 15-20 minutes for the front, and 10 minutes for the back.
James has a small yard but huge forearms.
You have to be on it though with a roller, because if it gets too high, you're toast.
Right.
Unless you're just like a super hacker with it. But okay, today on lawn care talk,
lawn line machine,
keeping it green.
I
in
had
the Minnesota
for James. I had something for James though, because he was mentioning, I don't know. It's a very common problem these days with so many streaming services. I have an app, and I'm sure there's tons of these, but it's called Just Watch, and you just punch in the movie or the TV show, and it'll tell you what streaming service has it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I press the microphone on my Roku and say Timecrimes, and then it tells me where it's free.
That'll do it too.
Yeah.
Technology is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, which I believe also was on Tubi, now that I think about it. So, but you would think from all this last conversation, we would be watching Lawnmower Man.
That one's next. All right. Now for the movie of the week, Timecrimes. It's our big group here. This is like our third time travel movie in a row. So we did 12 Monkeys, Primer, and now Timecrimes. So we'll just do some quick box office stuff and some ratings and reviews, kind of how it did. Then we'll go into our thoughts on the film. So, box office. It premiered at the Fantastic Fest in Austin, Texas.
Austin, Massachusetts?
Austin, Massachusetts. On September 2007. Then it actually opened in Spain on June 27th, 2008, then opened in the U.S. December 2008. But it was only in a couple theaters. It wasn't it wasn't like a wide release at all. It was like 2 theaters, 7 theaters max, an average of 2.5 about 2.5 week run. So
that makes more sense.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the budget. I'm like, did you reverse those?
No, they had a budget of 2.6 million in it. The box office it braked in 564,474. But I think I wish you could see like how much money they've made from having it on these other streaming services.
Well, this is going to be a cult classic right at this point, right?
Right. Right. But I remember this was like one of the first movies that I watched streaming on Netflix.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I wonder if they've had to make some money from Netflix back in the day. But yeah, I remember I streamed it on my Xbox. But yeah, it's ratings, reviews. IMDb average was 7.2 out of 10. Metacritic is 68%. Rotten Tomatoes at a critic of 89 and an audience score of 79%. So
Metacritic
I'm
not so happy with it.
No. And I really love this movie, and I'm really curious to hear what you guys have to say about it before I go on and rant about it. But yeah, I first watched this, must have been like 2009, 2010 on Netflix, and I haven't watched it since then, and I have never been able to share this film with anybody else and talk about it. I've told lots of people about it, but no one has ever seen it. So yeah, what do you guys think of Timecrimes?
Well, I appreciate you forcing this movie on me. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. It's very similar to Primer. I feel like I don't know, maybe just the time of it.
No, I was gonna say
like
I
the
thought,
scope of
when
time.
I saw this, I said, "Oh, no wonder you thought of this after watching Primer." Like, I think it fit really well with that.
Right, for sure. But the only thing was like, and we talked a lot about this in the Primer episode, where not the Primer was too smart, but like we had a big conversation about how the writer director didn't want to dumb down the science of it. They're like, no, we're leaving it like this to make sure that people watch us multiple times, and because they're like, maybe I missed something, and to understand what he was trying to get at. Where in this one, there's literally no explanation, and a really weird semi horror premise to what happens instead of, oh, I'm gonna do the stocks. And I was so much more interested in this movie. So I don't know. That was my first take on it. Fun fact, though, I was telling my wife that we watched this movie, and I didn't. I thought it was going to be subtitled, but I totally wasn't sure until I pressed play. And I caught myself doing what I think most of us do: is I press play, and then during the intro, I went on my phone and started doing some stuff, and then they started talking, and I had to rewind it. And then later in the movie, again, they started talking about something, and I was on my phone, and I had to rewind it, and then eventually, just like 5 minutes into the movie, put my phone down and didn't look at it again. And I'm like, I was telling my wife about this, and I was saying that I'm like, oh man, I just watched this subtitle movie. It was really, really good. And I'm like, man, I should probably watch more subtitle movies. It'd make me disconnect better because I was forced to put my phone away. And my wife goes, I wish that I had subtitles, so you would be forced to listen to me. And I was like, so I took it. I go, why? Because I talk too fast? Oh no, because I need it. Yep, no, I got that. Never mind.
You need a phone bowl.
I do. So I was like, zing. So she got that. But no, this got me back. I feel like whenever it comes to subtitled movies, I'm always so like, oh, I really enjoy this movie. But I don't want to pay that close attention to it. I just want to like veg out and watch a movie. I don't want to read. But it's so enjoyable. I'm like, and there's so many movies out there that are like that I just always need to get like past the first 5 to 10 minutes of that stigma for me, and then I'm all in the rest of the movie. So, no, this was a very good choice. I was very happy with it. Thank you for introducing it to us, Chad.
Cool, great first impression. Jamie, what were your thoughts? Actually, put a pin in Jamie right now. I want to go to Casey. Then we'll go to Jamie after
that.
Sad
panda of the group.
Yeah, the sad panda. Well, there's a reason why, because yeah. But Casey,
Man,
your first impressions.
It's pretty apropos that you reached out, because I want to be the sad sack on this one, but I'm gonna start it off by saying that I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was great. I was really glad we watched it, but because I know y'all are gonna gush about it, I'm gonna start with the things that I wasn't so happy about first. So
let's just do quick first impressions, because I think there's a we can kind of get to those.
Okay.
Those
I hear you.
Yeah, negative impressions.
So overall I thought it was super clever. It was really well done. I was super engaged the whole time, and I don't want to say that I saw any of the twists coming. I really don't think I did. I think a lot of that was, you'd see the things happening and you'd go back in the past and go, oh, cool, and how they tie all that together. I thought that a lot of that was pretty natural for me, and so I thought they did a really good job with that. Yeah, I think overall it was a really good film. I liked it a lot.
Okay.
There are things that I'll nitpick about,
Yeah.
especially in comparison to something like Primer. I'm super stoked that we watched this right after Primer, though, because I think there's so much you can tie together and talk about, especially like when discussing like time travel and what is a time travel movie. I think that'll be a really awesome topic to talk about.
Sweet. Awesome. So, Jamie, I wanted to have you go last. I know that after I watched this again, I was like, I think Jamie might really like this because it does have this, like, again, it's like, oh, I didn't realize this is a horror film, like horror thriller film. I'll know Brown Cow. But I'm really curious to hear what your first impression was.
Yeah, so much like James, I was pumped that this was like Primer was a great how do I describe Primer? It was very clever and really well told version of how time travel would actually happen. Timecrimes is a better movie of what would actually occur if time travel were to take place. But yeah, to your horror piece, yeah, I think you're right. It really played my music throughout the film because it had that horror vibe, and the first moments where it felt like a horror film to me were obviously when he's looking at the girl on the hill and you can't see her face. We got a lot of horror movies with just like hair over the face, like think The Ring, a lot of J horror. But it's when he finds her in the clearing and she's stripped naked, not moving, and then you see her chest start to rise, and that got an audible "oh shit" from me when I was watching the movie, and I think that was for me when it turned, and I said, "Oh, this is a horror movie. Here we go."
Jamie, I want to get on the "is this a horror movie" thing, and let's think back to the basics that were laid out to us in the movie Scream. So, like,
I haven't seen Scream.
God, Chad, I just can't with you.
What Jamie? I will watch that. Scream. I will be watching. Well, Jamie and I are going to do the Scream movies. Time Machine.
Chad, I do this all the time with you, and I apologize, but like you say things like I haven't seen Scream, and I'm just like I can go down the list of the names right here, and I'm like, yeah, Casey's probably seen Scream. I know Jamie's seen Scream. You know what? It would not surprise me if Chad did see Scream. You could say absurd things to me, and it doesn't surprise me anymore. So, anyways, but the laws in Scream, where they talk about let's go over this. Did they do any drugs in this movie?
Well, I would argue time travel maybe is a drug, just in the sense of it's altering your mind in that way.
Damn, that's deep, Jamie. I like that.
I know. That's the best I got.
That's pretty good.
I mean, he did spit up that gooey liquid every time he came out, or like the third time. He was like,
yeah, you're not telling me he didn't get a little drowsy or high. Was there sex involved in this movie? I mean, let's be honest. We all know that dude got afternoon delight, and I don't even understand how. He was like, "Hey, I went up to take a nap." No, you didn't. Let me make you happy.
Right.
It was the weirdest intro to a movie where I'm like, there's so much more going on, which I thought was going to be involved in the time travel, but we can get back to that later. And then Jamie, what else is involved in a horror movie?
So he's
Ghostface Killer.
Yeah, no, literally, he's got the bandages around his face. So you have a masked guy in the woods stalking around our protagonist, which turns out to be himself with a sharp object. And at the very end, I think she's credited as La Chica en el Bosque, which is the girl in the forest.
Which is Algonquin for the good land.
Wrong movie, James.
Wrong movie.
Dang it, movie quotes failed me once again.
Encyclopedia movie knowledge, my ass.
But you think she's going to be the final girl, right? Because she kind of disappears on Hector 2, and then his wife appears to kick the bucket, but then it turns out, no, actually his wife is the final girl. And La Chica en el Bosque is the victim throughout the whole movie. I guess you could argue Hector is the victim too, but of his own doing.
The engineer, I feel like he's the one. Like I kept on finding myself after the movie going, "Okay, the day is finally over. What does that fucker do? What's his next step?" He's like, "I'm so fired. I am so fired."
I'm breaking the machine.
He's like, "My car's gone. The company van's gone. Like I don't know how to get out of here.
They're
I
both
live
in
in
the same
Glasgow."
ditch. The van and the car.
I completely forgot about that. That is hilarious. That dude is so fired.
But no, question for you guys. Was I the only one who thought that somebody else was going to travel back in time? Like when La Chica en el Bosque disappears and she was coming back towards the very end. I for a second, I wondered if maybe she had gotten sent back and we were dealing with her double. Did anyone else go there at all?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, there was a
situation.
moment, yeah.
Why? What was up with the necklace? Was it just he was saying, "Oh, this was her necklace, and now it's here"? Like I thought maybe that was a sign of something.
That's true. They never came back to that. I think it was just to suggest that she made it to his house. But yeah, they did almost drop it as if they were going to return to it, but they never did.
And we never saw like Hector 3 place it there or anything like that to lure anyone there.
You're right, Case. I'd have to watch it again, but I do remember specifically. Okay, they zoomed in on this. It's very
Yeah.
specific. Pay attention.
And they
then-
flash back to,
Yeah.
naked lady in the woods with her necklace.
No, oh, that was probably the only specific reason. All right,
Maybe,
let's throw
maybe.
this on Naked Lady
True.
again.
Cool. Should we all right, why don't we just start with should we go into like favorite scenes or what's you
I think we
wanna
go into
like
Casey. Let's tell us what you
his
hated about it.
nitpicks, yes.
Yeah, let's go nitpicks, and that would lead us into favorite scenes. I
Yeah.
bet.
Well, you know what? I only really have one big nitpick, and maybe someone can help me, and I won't be nitpicky about it.
Casey,
But
I'll
it
piggyback
feels-
on. I have one nitpick as well, but it's because I thought it was going to go somewhere and it didn't. But you go
Oh.
first, and then I'll see if it's similar or not.
Yeah, let's express your nitpicks and then we'll expound on both of those.
I would
Copy
like
that.
to knit to my pick. My pick
right.
needs knitting.
Hey, you knit first.
I will knit. I might crochet.
I'm a knitting and I'm a picking.
I just
I'm a picking and I'm a knitting.
So I think what I can't get my head wrapped around is I think there's a paradox. If the reason that Hector goes up into the woods at all is because he sees, El Chica take her shirt off, but he is the reason she took her shirt off. Like it had to have for this to all make sense and not be a paradox, it has the timeline has to be able to continue without the time travel, right? Like if the reason he went was because he, as Hector 2, made her take her shirt off, how did she take her shirt off originally for that to ever happen to make that whole thing happen?
This is
Like if that
yeah,
right?
But I think this is kind of like 12 Monkeys a little bit, right? Like you can't change the past and like the timeline, like time is like fixed. It's like a straight line essentially, right? So like since the time machine is there and like Hector is already on the path of going through the time machine. So everything that leads
that's
up.
my argument. Why though? Why was he? Because I actually found myself thinking that at the beginning of the movie, as he like checks out topless girl in his binoculars, then wanders in the woods, my thought was, I don't know if I don't think I would do that. If I saw something weird in the woods, I don't think I would go wandering around looking for it, especially if it was some naked woman. Like, who knows if that's like some girl getting it on with her boyfriend or girlfriend up in the woods. Like, I'm not going to go wandering around for it. So I actually questioned the premise of him going up there originally. That's kind of where I actually went at the beginning of this movie, was kind of like about it. And I came around to it because I thought it was very clever and I liked how a lot of it was done. But I still think the original premise falls flat or is a paradox of some point, because like what would have led him up into the woods, which then led him to all of it, to the time machine, to then going back and injuring his head and wrapping himself up, going back in the past. All of it was the catalyst that started all of it, was seeing the naked lady in the woods. And if the only reason she was naked in the woods is because he told her to be naked in the woods as Hector too, how does it start? Like, to me, that's illogical. It's a paradox. But I will say that in the end, I still, like I said at the beginning, I thought this was a super clever movie. Thought it was well done. Despite I'm not able to really wrap my head around that part of it, I still think it was good. That's my biggest nit, though.
Yeah, like part of my nit to pick is kind of goes along with that as well. Like the kind of absurdity of, like, yeah, I'm gonna do this weird stuff. Like, I'm gonna tell you to stand over here, put your head down, take off your shirt, and then,
well, then
later
why
on,
did he
like,
fully wrap his face? What was the purpose of that? He had an injury on his forehead. Wrap it around your head. Why did he wrap his whole face?
Well, because he recognized that he was the one in the future, right? At that point,
is that what it was? Is he?
At that
Did
point,
he
I
figure
think
it
he
out at that
saw
point?
the pink-faced man and was
I
like,
can
"Oh,
buy that.
that's me." He knew that and just went for it, I think.
Yeah, that's what I
'Cause he
got
did
too
that a
from
lot.
that scene when, like, that first time he wrapped it around, and he has the bandage down and it starts to turn like pink, and he like kind of looks, and that's the moment of like he's starting to, like, he gets what's happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, one more explanation then I want to ask then. What's the purpose of that scene after he stabs himself where he's like turning around pretending to have binoculars on?
Oh yeah, that one floored me. I have no clue.
Was he trying to remember the timing?
The timing and
originally?
like the spot to where he was standing.
I just don't remember. Yeah, that was weird. I don't remember him. He didn't do that behind the tree multiple times. I thought he just peeked out the one time, then ran away.
Yeah.
So that whole scene kind of threw me off. I was like, what? And then when it actually worked in the end, he turned and there he went running. That was kind of a good payoff. But I was like, what's going on here? Like, why is he even doing this?
Right. That was kind of goofy. It's like goofy and really creepy at the same time.
Okay, I'm with you on that. As far as like, I kept on finding myself wondering, okay, let's just take the first sequence and tell time travel. How does he explain any of that to his wife or the police?
He doesn't.
At this point, he doesn't have to. You just have to explain a lady that's dead on your property. Oops, she was breaking in and fell off the roof. Like, I think they'll get off scot-free. He could probably just pretend it never happened.
I suppose.
This is the neatest bow on a story for time travel, especially to this degree of, like, complexity. This is probably the neatest little bow you could tie on one, because I think they'll just go on living. I don't know how the dude at the place will explain the two busted up vehicles. But...
Yeah, I think he's fired for sure. But I did enjoy that. Yes, with his wife and himself, like they basically were, I don't know, the room or the shed or whatever. They were like, "Hey, stay here. This has never been seen in my visions of all this time travel, and like stay here and you'll be safe," kind of thing. I did appreciate that. Because instead of like, "Hey, go here," and then she gets run over by a horse and carriage, like in the time machine. But like, it just seemed like, I don't know, when you guys are watching movies like that, when you're like, "Oh, I've seen," like, the time travel, the main character has seen what is going to happen to a loved one, and then they go back in time, and then they try to change it, and then something happens where they get screwed again.
Right.
And you're just
the
like,
thing they tried to change actually was the catalyst for like why their partner was killed.
Go in the cupboard under the stairs and just hang out. It's okay.
And like the stairs collapse.
Exactly. Like that's what I was wondering with that. No, my big thing was the intro to the movie. So you got your whole like he's at the supermarket or whatever, buying groceries, and then heads home, and then that's how we start the movie is like the trunk pops open and shit falls out. Like he's like, "Oh, I'm picking up a trampoline or whatever it was, or a table, sorry," and like groceries and this and this and this. They never came back to that anywhere else, right? Am I missing something?
No.
Did I walk out of the room? Okay, because that part seemed really kind of absurd to me. Like I'm like, all right, this is very specific. It's gonna come back to this, right? So I thought for sure Hector number 5 was gonna like click the button on his car, so it all like fell out.
Right.
He was like, "Oh shit!" and he has to pick it up, and then in the process tells his actual wife, being like, hey, I need you to do A, B, and C. And then that's why he got Afternoon Delight. And like that made sense to me, and because it doesn't make any sense anywhere else. And then all of a sudden, like other things ensued. Like I feel like there was points of the movie that were shown, just like the necklace, that they never came back to.
James,
Or
you're helping out my crazy theory that I'm having that
and Auntie Chad.
Hector's wife actually was orchestrating this whole thing to get rid of the girl in the woods because she knew that he was looking at her. So this was like her whole plan to murder that woman and get away with it. Because she
Oh,
got
yeah.
caught.
Ooh.
She got stuck in the time
I
machine
love
first.
this.
Yeah, this is like Jar Jar Binks is a Sith Lord style.
Yeah,
right here.
I think that's
This is gonna get so gross because Chad, are you gonna say like she got caught in that white cream and she went back in time? Sorry.
You know, hold on. I'm gonna defend that opening scene a bit. I think that actually is a great encapsulation of who Hector is. This whole movie, he doesn't really stop and think and plan. He just kind of keeps going,
Mhm.
and that's how he picks up the things that fell out of his car. He just picks one thing up, piles the next thing on top, and just stacks it and stacks it. And then by the time he gets into the house, he's almost dropping all of it. And I think that's actually like a small little glimpse foreshadowing into how he's going to handle all of the situations where he just kind of keeps stacking these new things he has to do and timeline things he has to preserve, and it just gets so crazy up until the very end.
Yeah, I
I'm
like
excited
this.
for
That's
Nacho to
deep.
listen
I
to this
like that.
podcast and go, I just want to make girls cry.
Well,
But
I
thank
can
you, Casey, for making it deep.
All right.
I think Casey's right. I can also explain the afternoon delight and I think that's just Spain. You know, that's a siesta. It's like I got done with shopping and now it's time for sex and a nap. And
I know
then
he's like, I'm gonna take a nap. Oh, okay,
Well,
honey, go
actually,
upstairs.
hold on. I have a good snippet that actually, and this is what, if I know we're going to talk Letterboxd, but this probably, after reading this and then thinking about it a lot more, probably gave me boost. I would boost this movie in a half a point after reading this because it makes it a lot more. It makes sense to me, and I go, oh yeah, that makes this even more clever. And I don't know if this is why they did it, but on Wikipedia directly, they talk about this author for the AV Club, and he says that they interpret the film as an allegory about adultery, comparing Hector's increasingly complex and confusing actions to those of someone lying to hide an affair.
Ooh,
So if that's how you
I
view,
like
and
that.
so I stepped back and viewed this movie from that lens, the Afternoon Delight makes perfect sense because it's kind of introducing that as kind of one of the key elements of this whole story. And then that also explains why homie sees topless girl in the woods and thinks, I'm gonna go find her, because that makes perfect sense as an allegory to adultery. Like, oh, I'm just going to check this out, and then it becomes this thing, and it gets even worse, and it snowballs, and it kind of, I don't know. I thought that was really clever.
yeah, because Hector does seem, pretty stoked that he won the bet because the table wouldn't fit through the door, so he would get to stay behind while his wife left.
Right. And
Well,
like
that-
immediately like threw the binoculars back up as soon as he heard that she was out of view or whatever, and tried to find topless girl.
Well, that's and you're not wrong there because I feel like I don't know, most of our lives, and mine specifically, if this exact situation was happening, I'd hand the binoculars to my wife, going, "Holy shit, look at this!" And like
Exactly.
and he never
Right?
once
You
was
saw
like,
the weirdest shit in the woods.
he wasn't acting super awkward, like, yes, go to the store. He wasn't like that. He played it real cool. No, you're man, the affair thing. You're totally right on that one.
Oh, I mean, it's not me. I'm regurgitating other people's takes, but I just thought that helped me kind of boost the movie even more in my mind, just
No,
because
Casey,
of
speak your truth.
seeing it
That's
like that.
awesome. I love it.
So, what would you, since you brought up Letterbox, you said you would boost it like a half point. So, what would your total score be?
I think upon like my original watching of it, I was at a 3.5, but I think this sort of bumped it to a 4 because I think it is really clever. I still obviously it can't get to a 5 because I think there's a paradox. I still don't understand how it started in the first place. You know, like the beginning of the timeline. How does it happen if it depends on him being back in time? But other than that, like, I thought it was cleverly done. I thought it did a really good job of doing what I thought Primer tried to do in the same type of way, right? Where someone goes back in time, and then as they're going through it, when he realized there was Hector 3, I thought that was a great little twist, and it was a lot less complicated and confusing as Primer was, because Primer had 3 or 4 of each of them, of the 2 people. So I imagine this is more like Primer dumbed down a little, not dumbed down, but like reduced a little bit, because there's only one person going back in time, and there becomes 3 of him, and then it kind of wraps itself up cleanly, where it doesn't need to leave it open-ended for other weird things to have maybe happened. Like Hector 1, 2, and 3 have all merged by the end of the film, because they all did what they were supposed to do. No one went off script, and then boom, it's just kind of wrapped up in a bow. So to me, it was a lot more, you're right, movie friendly to a story similar to Primer. And I don't want to call it less intelligent, because it was still really smart in how it did it. And they did the same thing where they didn't really explain the technology. The dude's just like, oh, I dump the goo in and push the buttons and it does the thing. I actually thought that was really clever to just kind of throw you into it in a similar manner.
The thing for me that really got me was that watching, and I just don't watch that many foreign films, especially like lately. Like I probably did like, back in the, when I lived in Uptown and was going to the Uptown Theater like every weekend because something, crazy and cool and odd and weird.
Did you know they're selling the Lagoon?
What's that?
Did you know they're selling the Lagoon?
No, I did not.
It, COVID, man.
Damn.
Thunder, which sucks, but we're hoping that some big pocketed rich man that listens to us, I think, where's our main audience? Spain?
We're on the charts in Mexico now, so.
Oh, hey. I got nothing. Sorry.
What I was going to say, though, is I think for a time travel movie done where you're reading it in subtitles and still be able to follow this movie is, it's pretty easy to follow. I feel like once you, especially like I watched this like 2 times, like kind of checking in and out of it, but I had this movie on a lot, just kind of on in the background too, like this past weekend. I thought it was really easy to follow. And I think that's, like a testament to, I think, how well this movie is for a foreign film. It's not in our native language. Like, I don't know how to speak the language. It's very low budget, I guess, considered low budget, versus what else would be coming out at this time. It's not low budget like Primer low budget, but I think it's done very well. The cinematography is done very well. And yeah, that kind of just blew me away, like kind of looking at it from that lens or through that lens this time around. So I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that.
It felt like it was like a Indies 90 film, but it was done in like 2000, what, 7?
7, yeah.
7. So no, it felt like that. It, like as soon as it started, I like even just looking at that, the way it was filmed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, that made me happy. Like, like Chad,
Yeah.
same way as you. It was like it made me reminiscent of watching
kind of
movies
nostalgic, right? Like
nostalgic watching movies at the Independent or the Lagoon, and like I like definitely hunkered into the couch going, I'm in, let's do this. So I don't know. That's just, I think you and I have very nostalgic similarities in that aspect.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
Well, and it helped too because there wasn't anything, like it's still accessible now. There wasn't any technology that made you go, "Oh my God, they're doing like the CD player thing." It was a cordless phone in his house, and then we still use walkie-talkies today. So other than that, if the model of the car is a 2007, that was it.
We did have cell phones though, right? We did have flip phones, right?
In 7, yeah, for sure.
No, in this movie. I mean, right?
Oh, is there
the girl on the bike?
The girl did. The naked girl did.
Oh, right.
Pre-naked.
But that's the thing. It came so fast, I didn't even notice.
That's what she said. I'm sorry. I hate that when people do that. I can't believe I just did that.
I'm happy. That was probably on your bucket list.
Yes, cross that off. My bucket list is complete. You mentioned the walkie. I don't know if you guys caught this too. So when he, like we find out like, oh, he gets like the coat from the tipped over dumpster, right? And unless I missed this, like, did that coat have a walkie in it?
No.
Okay, he
Wait,
picked it up.
I don't think so. He picked it up. He found it. It was in the back of the red van. The
Yeah.
van the second truck, the second car he stole, like the red van and crashed.
Yeah.
The second car he crashed. It was in the back of that one, like in the forest.
Okay.
Yeah, because the first walkie's in the room downstairs when no one's there. The second one is owned by Abercrombie physicist, and then, like James said, the other one is in the van. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Best scenes or favorite scenes, whatever. Have any? We'll go first. How about that? I actually have two. One, I think, is just because I thought it was funny. The other thing I thought because it was just kind of a cool moment in the film, and they're part of the same scene essentially. So when he crashes the car, and the woman, right, La Chica or whatever, comes up to the car and like knocks on the window, and she's like, "Are you okay?" He's like, "I'm okay." She's like, "What happened to your face?" He's like, "I got hit. Nothing serious."
Just the basic.
Just nothing serious, as his entire head is wrapped up in bloody gauze.
Your description is exactly what happened, and in my head, it's like a part of an NES game in the late '90s. Like, what happened? I got hit.
Right.
I'm okay.
Right.
And then they move on to
All
their
your
Final
face are
Fantasy.
belong to
Right.
us.
Right. Oh my god.
But as far as I thought, like, one of my favorite scenes was the kind of like the bandage killer, like, reveal as he's wrapping his head up in the mirror, even though like the purpose of like why he's doing that or whatever. But that's kind of, I feel like that's the moment where he, to me anyway, like Hector is like kind of gets like he is the one that's but the paradox is creating all this stuff that put him into this spot in the first place, kind of. So best scenes, favorite scenes. James?
Ooh,
I want Jamie to go before me because otherwise he's gonna get good ideas.
That's true. I'll snatch it. No, we already talked about mine. I think it was when he's in the clearing and he's approaching
the boobs. Yep.
It was the boobs. Yeah, no, but it's that turn, because that's when the movie turned for me, when you see her chest rise and fall.
Yep.
And yeah, you realize
you get the reassurance she's not dead.
Yes, that for one, and then it tells you that this film's going to be a little dark, so it turns that way. But I think generally speaking, it wasn't a scene, but I loved that, like Casey kind of talked about, Hector's just kind of like this bumbling guy, and I like that. Yeah, that would be me if I time traveled, or like most people, like we would just be fumbling through it and doing our best.
Right. Do you, even though you kind of like Hector's like this fumbling, bumbling kind of somewhat clumsy guy, but I like the kind of the progression and like kind of transformation of Hector, like, because he kind of figures it out in a way to pull everything back together, like in the end, to kind of undo that time loop.
Yeah, so I didn't have a scene. I had Hector. That was my favorite part. For the same reasons you're saying. He started the movie out one way. I feel like he ended a slightly another way. But to your point, if he didn't figure out the time loop where he's like, none of this matters unless I get back to my wife and I get back to this constant, like he was just like, how, like, I'm like, this didn't seem like you in the beginning. Like, why are you making these choices? Like, even like the girl, like it seemed like killing her, no problem, as long as I get back to my wife.
Right.
And like, or not killing her. He didn't, like, not necessarily killing her. I guess technically Hector 3 did, technically. But like, he's like, it's not me. It's okay. It was the other guy. Like, I don't know. It just seemed like in the beginning of the movie, this bumbling guy, like, oh shoot, the trunk popped open to, yay, I'm having a nap, and then there's some boobs in the woods too. Oh shit, there's this. Like, I don't know. This whole time travel thing, like, yes, he got sneakily tricked into time travel by himself, which is the paradox. But like, I don't know. him doing all this, I enjoyed the character throughout all of it because, like, by the end of it, he was like, "Nope, I'm gonna do A, B, C. Hey, wife, come with me into the shed. Let's hang out." And everything else is over. Going, let's wait for the cops.
Yeah.
Like, which, by the way,
He
then
understood timeline preservation so well, and I don't understand how. That's crazy. He did so
because
good at
he's
it.
not the original Hector. The original Hector knew
Oh.
that the cops are going to come and see all the fingerprints of Hector and screw over everybody. That's in Time Crimes too.
Timecrimes too. He knew
You just got time, son.
because what do you call him, Jamie? Abercrombie scientist?
Yeah, Abercrombie
Abercrombie
scientist.
and physics.
Abercrombie
Abercrombie and
Abercrombie
physicist.
physicist.
And physicist. Abercrombie and
Yeah.
physicist.
He drew him the simple map, right?
Trademarked on time. Just kidding.
TM time.
TM time.
All right. Did I already go to you, Casey?
What was Casey's favorite scene?
No, wait, James is.
So-
oh, wait, James just went, didn't he? Yeah.
For a long time, yeah.
Yep.
I think my favorite scene was actually the scene where he's back in his own house chasing who he thinks is the woman in the woods, and then she falls and dies, and then he thinks it's his wife. To me, that was the first twist to me where I went, "Oh, you done it now, bro." Because I know that I think they show that she was wearing Converse All-Stars or whatever Converses.
Yeah.
And so you could probably deduce that it was the lady in the woods and not his wife, but he thinks it is, right? So I kind of bought into that. And I think that was the turning point for me where I was like, oh shoot, the rest of this movie is him going to be trying to undo this and it's going to get crazy.
And
So
he
that I thought that
seemed
was a really
okay with
cool,
it.
powerful scene. Right. It was really weird.
That's what I'm talking about. The progression of the beginning of the movie to his, like, startled, I don't know, just whatever he was doing. And he was so, like, upset about, or not upset about, like, killing this girl. Like, I'm gonna cut your hair. Yep, I know you're gonna die. It's okay. Shh.
Right.
Well, think about it too.
Just
The
let
other,
it
He's like,
happen.
part of that,
you are so beautiful.
yeah, right.
Right. That was so weird.
The other thing is they specifically show every time he hits his head and hits his face. So maybe part of that too is like he's clearly like concussed and not thinking straight. Because
Is this
I
where
swear, they
Jamie
make
hops in and says that this whole movie is actually like a dream because he like actually got into a car
he's
accident?
unconscious in the car, the
yeah.
first car accident.
Yep.
I'm so happy you brought that up. I thought the same thing, and which then I deep dive into where was the first dream, like the not in this movie, it was just a dream. Was it Alice in Wonderland? Was it Wizard of Oz? Was it Bob Newhart? I concur
Inception?
that it was Alice in Wonderland, 1980 or 65.
1865.
1865. Sorry, 1865.
Jabberwocky.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
But maybe it's
Oz
Jamie.
was 1900.
This is where Jamie again chimes in and says, "Like, no, it's when Hector fell asleep after his afternoon delight. He
That's
dreamt
what
the entire thing."
Yes,
There it
sorry,
is.
that's where I was thinking too.
Well, you know what I was thinking though when
No, what
Casey
Jamie
was going
actually
through
is
that.
gonna. No, Jamie right now is going to say. Carry on.
Well, no, I was like, so yeah, he knows everything. Why does she have to die? And then I reminded myself that he, made her strip in the woods and threw her down the hill and knocked her unconscious. So,
God.
like, she's the witness to all of his shenanigans.
Oh boy. So, yeah, I think that might be a good lead into what's aged the best and worst in this for a film from 2007, 2008. For me, I think it holds up quite well, especially for a low budget film. I personally think the performances are pretty good. But I think what has aged poorly is just like all the stuff with our hot female lead. Like the disrobing and like that stuff.
But see, I agree with that. But if you think about it as an allegory for adultery, it like kind of makes it all make sense.
You're right.
But I agree. I thought that same thing originally. Like, oh, really? Like he's just gonna see these tits and go and look for them? Like, really? That's the premise of this movie?
Yeah. What about you, Jamie?
No, I think you guys just nailed it.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. Yeah, no, you said what I was going to say, but I did, sorry, bringing it back just a little bit, Casey, to answer your question with a non-answer as far as, like, where's the origin? How does this actually happen? Um, it's in the Wikipedia thing. It's the causal loop, and I love this definition because it gives you no answers. And it says a causal loop is a theoretical proposition in which, by means of either retrocausality or time travel, a sequence of events is among the causes of another event, which is in turn among the causes of the first mentioned event. And then it says, which might appear paradoxical. It's like, no shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just Google it and look at the causal loop diagram.
Yeah, with the 8-ball. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, where is the other 8-ball coming from? The future. I don't know. But where is it coming from, though? No answers. More questions.
I concur with Jamie.
Yeah, this film did quite well. Do you have anything for Oscars in 2007, 2008, James? Like anything for independent off the top of your head? But this film,
Not in my head.
yeah, this film won Best Picture at the 2007 Fantastic Fest. That was in Austin, Texas.
Austin, Massachusetts, maybe.
Okay. The gold medal, is that gold medal flower? Gold medal of jury award competition in a 2000 Fantastic Fest. It just cleaned house at the 2007 Fantastic Fest, looks like. Silver medal of audience award competition at the same fest. The Asteroid Award for Best International Sci-Fi Feature Film.
Chad, the fact that you're naming these such awards means no, they did not win any Oscars.
No, I imagine it wouldn't, since it was only in 7 theaters. So,
oh, you guys, I just pulled it up. This was like an all-timer Oscars year. This is No Country for Old Men, There Will Be Blood, Michael Clayton, Juno, Atonement.
Oh, I love Juno.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Juno. That had a good soundtrack too.
Juno had a good soundtrack.
Yeah.
Did anybody see Michael Clayton?
That's with
Negative.
George Clooney?
No.
Michael Clayton, I think it was written by the same dude that like did the screenplays for Born Identity and like Duplicity. I don't know. That movie, this is just weird fun fact about me. I own that movie. I enjoy that movie, but that's like my sick movie. So like if I am like not feeling great, like I throw in that movie because I know that like I'll be content and I can fall asleep like content. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
I'm sure everybody has their sick movies, but Michael Clayton is mine.
I love that. I love learning these things.
Shut up, Jamie.
I do. My sick movie is golf. I need to up my game here.
Oh, I thought Jamie's was gonna be like Tiny Toons, how I spent my summer vacation.
No.
Okay.
God. Oh, mine's usually like Star Wars or something, but
Which episode?
which one?
Yeah.
It's like, like Empire or Jedi. So
Actually, Empire would be a good sick movie. I support this decision. Thank you. Case? On the spot.
My sick movie, man, it's probably, you're gonna laugh, it's probably Blues Brothers.
No way.
No, I'm not laughing.
Yeah. I mean, it's we potted it, that's why it's funny. But
It's-
it's probably
it's-
Blues Brothers.
Still our number 2 podcast behind Stand By Me.
You're damn right it is.
Hey, Casey, I wanted to ask you, is this a time travel movie?
So I saw that you had posted that and it made me think about it. And I think if we have to use the same rules that I established in Primer, then no. But then it made me think about those rules. And I don't know, man. I think in all technicality, he's not traveling in time. They're going back to a point that they established. And the guy even explains that, like, you can't just appear in the tank, right? He was saying that at most we can go in a little bit early and you can get in, get out 30 seconds beforehand. So it's not true like traveling in time. But I don't know, maybe I was too critical.
I'm going to give you the definition of time travel. It's the concept of movement between certain points in time, analogous to movement between different points in space by an object or a person typically with the use of a hypothetical device known as a time machine.
No, I think you're right. I think he's still traveling backwards. He's just not picking and choosing exactly. It's not like Back to the Future where I want to go
So
to
you're saying
January
a
1st,
time
1987.
travel movie,
He's still traveling.
you have to pick the time.
No, I'm backing down from that stance.
Okay.
I think you're right.
I'm just fucking with you, dude.
No, you're saying that, but I was thinking about it before this, like, because I think I saw that question posed, is it a time travel movie?
Yeah.
And I had to realize, like, by the same rules I tried to establish previously, no, but I think the rules were bad. So, no, I think you're right. He did travel. I'm just maybe not impressed with the ability of travel because of things like Back to the Future, and I'm imposing those rules on it.
Okay.
And I shouldn't.
No.
It's unfair.
Do we judge
being
all
unfair.
things on Back to the Future?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wait.
So if he doesn't travel,
Hot dog or not a hot dog?
Yeah. Back to the Future is like the base, right? Everything.
so he's got to travel to the. Well, no, in the first movie, he travels to the past.
So instead of letterbox score, can we rate it as how many score points away from Back to the Future we think it is? So this would be like a -2. Because it's at least 2 points away from Back to the Future, right?
6 degrees of Back to the Future.
Yeah, basically.
That would be a fun graph to do, like 10 movies, and you're like Back to the Future, Looper, Primer, like where you're grading, and then there's a graph of like where you think they belong. That would be fun.
You know, rewatching this movie made me not. I don't ever want to watch Primer again after watching Timecrimes.
I don't want to watch it. But I don't want to watch it again after the YouTube thing. Like, I get it, but the YouTube thing was exhausting.
Yeah, with the cartoon, right?
It's so fantastic. I love how they described it, and I found out that that other time travel movie that I just was telling you guys about, Predestination. She apparently they like London City Girl or whatever does that one too, and I was like, I'm gonna click on this. Nope, I'm already exhausted from watching Primer, and it's got to be very similar to this, only probably a little bit worse. And so
we're probably done going down the time machine movie or time travel movie rabbit hole.
I think movie Time Machine has the battery is dead.
Jamie, before I forget,
Yes.
you said you on our little chat earlier today, you wanted to talk about doubles. You still want to have that conversation?
Oh, I had nothing specific. It was just a way to say that I like this more than Primer. Well, and really because in this one, the double is not really a double. It's the same guy in a different space. Whereas I think in Primer, they are true doubles, like different, like he gets cut on his face, which is why he has the bandages because it already happened to him. Mm-hmm. But in Primer, I think it's a different person or entity, right? Maybe? I don't know. See, this is why, and I wonder if you guys had this moment too. I was watching this film and it was third act, Hector 3. I think it might have been after he grabbed the walkie-talkie after he crashed the van, and I remember thinking, oh, I lost it. You know, like the timelines. That was the moment where it was like, oh shit, I lost it. Okay, well, we'll just see how it finishes.
I think Casey was onto something earlier with like, they do specifically point out he bangs his head quite a bit. Like, that's why I thought at the end, like, that's where it brings it back to me of the, oh, it's going to be all a dream. I agree. I thought that that's how they were going to end it, and I was going to be super disappointed, but they did not.
Oh, yeah, that would have ruined it.
Oh, my God, for sure. But, I don't know. Jamie, I think that, like, the different, like, I think the fact that Hector realized that I don't know, he got too smart too fast, almost. Like, he was like, okay, so this is gonna be Hector 2, I'm Hector 3. Or like,
no, I would argue this is following the same rules as Primer. It's just this is easier to kind of swallow because it's a single day, whereas Primer was multiple days, and then they went back and did multiple days all over again, multiple times. So there's a lot more layers, right? Yeah, with the failsafe and all that crazy stuff. So I think it's the same concept. I think there were 3 of them at one given time, and since it was one day, and Hector 3 was clearly clever enough about timeline preservation, like none of them saw anyone that they shouldn't have seen. I don't know. I think it's the same as Primer.
I think it's similar to Primer, but I think also Hector 3, like I said earlier, he got too smart to this too quick, where
Mm-hmm.
he was almost like shedding clothes. Like he was doing things to very like, okay, so Hector 2 is the dude with the bandages. Hector 3 is the dude with the navy shirt. Hector 4 is the dude with the brown shirt. Like he was like taking off layers and doing different things. So like the engineer or Nacho could identify what's going on, or more specifically, he could identify who is whom.
Either way, he has a really good memory. I wouldn't have remembered half of the way, the
Right.
like orientation of the clothes he's trying to put
Yeah.
back on the floor, right?
It's
All that stuff.
it's
Yeah,
almost
so
like this like flight or fight reaction. It's like, like you ever feel like you're in danger? You're in a situation that, where you need to like turn it up and like think through things quickly. Like say if like you're injured or like somebody you're with is injured or like your child is injured, like something where you have to like think of things fast and react quickly to them.
yeah,
It's
when
almost
Jamie
like,
locks the door behind me, yeah.
yeah. That's kind of how I saw Hector like throughout this movie. And I was thinking too, like when you're talking about doubles Jamie, it's like when the person that we're following essentially through the movie is like the original Hector, like kind of in quotes, but he is like the third because they're all occurring like within the same time. So he's like the third one or fourth one, right? Like, so that's what the different numbers really mean, even though he's really all the same person, right?
Yeah, and I think that's where it bends my brain because Casey's right. The other Hectors are there manipulating the world, like he's running from himself. So obviously there's
Mm-hmm.
two of them, but they're all still the same guy, and that's where I get stuck.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank God this will never happen to any of us.
No, I think Chad, I think I said earlier, uh this is the most original. I mean, it's similar to Primer, but it's the most original movie I've been asked to be like, hey, watch this. It's a good flick. So, no, thanks for introducing it. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of things in this vein, right? Where it's not an original story they have to follow. It's not a remake. It's not a sequel. It's
Yeah.
just a bite size. This is the story you're being told, and it's done after it's over. I really appreciate good chunks like that.
Yeah, it was fun to actually get to share this with somebody finally, and after going back into this, I was like, was this as entertaining as I remember? Like, and yeah, I really love going back and watching this again. So awesome.
No, very entertaining. It made me want to make Jamie for your guys' horror segment watch The Orphanage, which is also Spanish.
El orfanato.
Well, I'm gonna harken to that real quick. I didn't know that I thought this was that much of a horror movie at any point. Maybe you could call it a thriller. I think it would be a horror movie from the viewpoint of the lady in the woods. Like if she was the main character, yeah, this is a horror movie. Like, right? I don't know. I guess maybe the nature of how I watched it, or maybe because I didn't sit down and watch it in a dark room at night, but I didn't feel that much scary tension as much as I felt
Yeah,
like thriller type
I
tension.
bet Jamie could make the argument, help me out with this argument, since he's our horror movie expert, is that horror movies don't necessarily need to be scary, right?
Yeah, I mean it depends. I,
Right? Like
I
not like afraid, like not Mr. Scaredy Pants like you, but no, but really like there's like these moments though I feel like there is fear, like that moment where he's like, "Oh shit, I killed my fucking wife," kind of moment. Like that those are the things to me that makes it think that it's like a horror movie, or like um kind of like where he realizes that he's the man in the bandages, like that kind of stuff. I feel like to me makes it a horror movie, and like that's kind of like he has to figure out how to fix it, and like, but everything he does, it's like tends to make it worse. So am I going down the wrong path here, Jamie?
Jamie, I'm the encyclopedia. Let me take this on.
James, you got this.
So,
Boom.
yeah, the thing about this movie is you got to walk into a certain tone. If this movie was marketed based on the poster we've seen, yeah, it probably should be a horror movie, and we're walking into expecting that. When you tell me, "Hey, James, go watch a movie called Timecrimes," and I'm just like, "Yes, I will." I was not walking into thinking it was a horror movie, and it was not a horror movie. Now, I bet you could argue that if somebody walked into thinking it was supposed to be a scary movie, that movie wasn't super scary, but the idea is a little terrifying.
Okay.
Yeah, I think James nailed it. It's got flourishes and flavors, like when he's
it
running
has horror
from,
elements.
Yeah, when he's running from himself and he's lighting up the path, and you're like, oh shit, is he gonna get up there before the mask guy finds him? Like, that is a scene you would see in a horror movie, but that doesn't
That's
necessarily make it like a hard horror movie.
And if the movie wasn't only like $200,000 or whatever it was, like you could afford a score that would have been like, oh my god, he's coming up the path, the man in the pig mask, and it would be like very scream music going ring, and like it would make you feel a very certain specific way.
Yeah.
Like, I think the music would have depicted if it was a horror movie or not. This movie didn't have the budget for music, so it just made it an awesome movie.
Cool. That's all that counts. Thank you for downloading this episode of Movie Time Machine. New episodes of Movie Time Machine drop on Fridays. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback, send us a message at movietimemachine@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Twitter @MovieMachinePod, where you can get the most recent updates when new episodes are hitting your favorite podcasting platforms. Thank you for listening. Join us next time. See you later. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Peace.